Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European Cross-Sub webinar. And we did see equity indexes pull back a pretty good, decent amount in the Asian session, despite the sell-off that we saw in the U.S. session. Essentially, returned back to challenge those lows, and we're going to take a look at that. And you can see with the Nasdaq, you can see us in the Asian session coming back and returning to challenge those lows. We've rallied a little bit from there, and take a look at the S&Ps. Held up a bit better than the Nasdaq. We didn't fall quite as far as the Nasdaq. I mean, we didn't go towards the lows. The S&P in the U.S. session have bottomed out at 41.65. In the Asian session, made it to 41.76, while the Nasdaq essentially almost went to the same area. Let's go on in. There we go. And just adjusting the full session VWAP. Now taking a look, we also saw pretty decent moves also in the euro. And look, we're still pressing up here against, or pressing down here, I should say, against these lows. And boy, did we see a pretty good pullback, and respectively also in the Aussie and the cable. We saw a move higher in the dollar yen. And as far as economic data, obviously the big mover is going to be non-farm payroll. But earlier we did go in and get IHS market construction PMI. And bear with me, that came in about half an hour ago out of German construction PMI, and came in at 44.5. The prior one had been 46.2, so a little bit lower move. And then we do get UK construction PMI. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. Forecast is for 62.3. And then at the top of the 6 hour, get yours on retail sales. They're expecting that to be down a little bit, minus a negative 1.2. Obviously, the big mover is going to be NFP. And it's kind of all over the map. Now, a consensus is going to be 650K. Now, ADP yesterday was 900,000, or approximately around 900,000. So it's going to be interesting to see how much that diverges from that number. And then also out is going to be Canadian employment. They're expecting negative 20,000 on the Canadian employment. Also throwing a monkey wrench into the works is going to be Powell will be speaking in the morning also. So that will throw some little bit of a wrench into the works. Also at 10 a.m. Eastern, we'll get durable goods and factory orders. And at 10 a.m. Eastern, we'll also get Canadian IBPMI. So certainly going to have quite the movement, although we've already had quite the movement already yesterday. So we'll see how that plays itself out. But right now, these markets are really in a tough stance. The S&Ps would have to retake 4204. As far as the Nasdaq, you can see here, it's in a pretty tough stance. Also, it would have to at least get back this 13,652 just to keep things kind of in a neutral mode, really opening the door for us to start to break lower as we break. You can see here, if we finish down here, we'll have broken out of this range, especially if we get below 13,486, and really open the door for us to push even lower. Same thing here with the S&Ps. Really have the potential, if we get below 41.66, to then push down into the 50s and potentially down into the 41.25, potentially. With that, we're going to get into the analysis. And starting out with the euro dollar. So the euro posted a solid down day by taking out the prior 2 weeks lows. Immediate support on non-farm payroll will be 2090. We've already made a push down towards 21. Will be 2090 followed by 2025. Resistance will be 2191 followed by 2221. So obviously we're going to have these good ranges I would expect today. Upside 2191, 2221. And you know what would have been rather interesting because look, we had gotten this, we got this pullback, established kind of like a hammer. Then we go on and rally. Then on we go on and find ourselves with this trying to push higher. We can't do it. Finds out with the gravestone doji. We drop down. We come right back on Wednesday, only to see Thursday really just going and push and take out this whole space in here. Just again, like I said, take out 2 weeks lows. Really opening the door, I would think, for a bit of a pullback in here. We're going to move into the cable. Cable broke lower on Thursday, taking out 2 weeks lows and opening a potential test of 140. Support will be 40.48, followed by 40.02, and resistance will be 41.43, followed by 41.77. So we're not even really looking for this to take out even 42, although stranger things can happen. And it's going to move into the Aussie dollar. Also took out new lows for the prior month, closing below the key. You can see here, 76.67. Support for Friday will be 76.23, followed by 75.91. And resistance will be 77.11, followed by 77.50. So we're not looking for too high on the upside. And for the dollar yen rallied past 110 on Thursday, opening a potential challenge of 1055, followed by 1097 for resistance. Support on Friday will be 968, followed by 928. As I said, resistance 1055. And on to the cash dollar index. So the dollar index rallied on Thursday following a disappointing rally move on Wednesday. And you can see here where we try to make a move higher and we just finish flat on their face. And then we turn around and zip right on up with the pair back in indices. Resistance on Friday will be 90.82, followed by 91.29. Support will be 90.16, followed by 89.94. So given some wide ranges, and I think we may just get just that with NFP day today. And moving on to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin continues to hover in the 35,000 area, devoid of other risk markets. Support remains at 32,389, okay, and a break and a hold of that would allow the move to 27,000. Resistance will be 39,250. Just not really going anywhere here with Bitcoin. And actually, I would have thought that we'd probably break lower, but it has not responded to overall risk either, up or down. It's a bit of a range here. I mean, that we haven't, if you look from top to bottom, but still think we're susceptible for a break, and maybe we'll see the break, during the weekend. And on to the S&Ps. The SPOOs closed with another. It says, I don't know why that came up. Didn't even put those notes there here. But in the SPOOs, as we mentioned earlier, we've seen a pretty good solid move. The key level, volume-wise for the week, is going to be that 4204. And we're looking here on a 2-hour chart. But you can see here where we visited down here to the 4166 yesterday. This market, immediate resistance is going to be, let's just call it 4205 right here. And beyond that is going to be 4212. And support on the downside, we break here, at least for right now, on this break would be 4174. And a further break really would open the door for 4158, which would be huge. And actually it goes a little bit lower, probably towards 4155. It's going to be interesting how far this thing wants to break. Immediate is going to be 4174. And let's just go in. If we break down here, it's really going to really open and cascade this sucker lower. I hate to go that far low, but just so we know what we're looking at, 4155.74. Obviously testing this low, 4166, but I think the stops would at least drag us down to about 4158. Take a look at the Nasdaq. You can see clearly here on the daily chart where the Nasdaq stands, and immediate resistance. We'll take a look. The key level is going to be this 13,652, but immediate resistance here. Let's go right there. 13,618. And obviously this 13,652. Let's just call it 13,658. And support on the downside, obviously 462. And beyond. $13,380. And moving on to the gold market. So gold cracked on Thursday, falling to 1868 while it's closing in at 1871. Resistance will be 1882, followed by 1892. Resistance. With support at 1852, followed by 1845. And finally with the crude oil market. This thing is just crazy how this thing just continues to stay bid. Crude oil continued to defy gravity while not impacted by the overall risk markets. Resistance on Friday will be 69.80 with support at 68.30. And it's just like, this is just nuts almost how this thing just, they kept on rallying. There's fundamental reasons that trying to keep the market tight. But you would have thought at least it would have been impacted in some small measure by overall risk markets, and it just simply hasn't. So we're looking at resistance on Friday for 69.90 and support at 68.30. Kind of dipping it back here, but it's relatively quiet, especially in the SPOOs. Look how quiet the SPOOs are here. A little bit closer look. We've come back up to this 41.95, but trading relatively quiet now, at least a little bit, not even much, but a little bit more volume comparatively speaking in Nasdaq. And looking at yesterday's midpoint on the Nasdaq, 13,585. Might be an area of interest right there immediately. Not seeing much on here. Obviously, that 4205 is going to be key. That's the top of the value range, and just referencing here. With the spoons, here's that 4205. Now we know that 4205, as I said, 4204 is key, but 4205 from the prior day, not yesterday, but well, actually is yesterday, but 4205. Then of course here 4205 again. Now that's the overall session, not just RTH, but you can see the significance of this 4205, and then whether or not we could get up to 4212. Probably going to be a pretty volatile day because the expectations for the data is kind of all over the place. But I kind of think that you could see, if we get some decent data, I think we could see a swing up to push to highs and probably hang around there, maybe try and make another push beyond that. And then I think I would look for the market maybe to come back. Now, once again, not trying to make any predictions, just going to go with the levels, but that's where we stand here. And there's the bias chart for today. We'll get that posted, and we'll see you in the chat room. And thanks for joining us here on the European crossover webinar. Amira was asking for Palladium and Platinum, so we'll go and take a look at those. Bear with me. Take a look at Palladium. You know what? We've come off those lows, although we're back in the middle of this range here. But key thing, if they're going to move higher, would be 2905. But we've actually held up pretty well when you compare it to. It doesn't trade the same way, but I'm just saying when you compare it to the way gold's acted. Finally got that pullback in gold. Key for this market is going to be right there, 27.92. We want to make sure they hold above that 27.92. On a very short-term basis, we'll get things going a little bit better if we get a daily close above 28.67. 28.67. And then looking at platinum. Well, unlike Palladium, Platinum's on the downside. You can see here, here's that wider range, and we're pushing down here. It looks like we're opening the door technically to going down here to 1130. And to stop the bleeding, we're going to need a daily close above 1170. If not, we're going down to 1130. And we'll take a look at silver. I really don't follow silver. This one, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's pretty clear. We need to get above 28.33, and doesn't look very good right now. Right now, the support comes in at 26.74. 26.74. To slow things down, we need to get a daily close of 27.61. 27.61. And that's where we stand, and we'll call today, and we'll see you in the chat room. Thanks.